So today, let's take a few moments and learn about one of the most important muscles in the human body, especially as it relates to the functioning of your hips and your low back. And that muscle is called your hip flexor. This is what it looks like inside your body. And what's important to know about the hip flexor is that this particular muscle runs all the way from your hip, goes all the way through your pelvis, and then goes almost a third the way up your back. The reason this is important is because when you think about what the hip flexor does, it's designed to move your hip in this position, in a flex position. Well, what position are so many human beings in each and every day, sometimes for 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day? It's this position. And what happens is this muscle gets very, very short, it gets very tight, and what ends up happening is with the shortness and tightness of this particular muscle is it starts to cause compression. Okay, it causes the entire low back to get compressed, but also too is if one side's a little tighter than the other, we also start to get a bit of twist. And those two are very, very poor combinations for allowing for hips and low back to feel well. So I'm going to show you two versions of how to stretch and lengthen your hip flexors to take as much compression off your low back as possible, and also how to allow your hips and your low back to actually feel and function the best we can. All right? So the first one's very easy, and I'm going to have you just take simply a chair at home. And you can just set up your chair anywhere. An ottoman works fine. Your stairs at home can work fine. Anything where you can just kind of put your one foot up a little higher. So it's going to look something like this. Now, from this position, what you want to do is you're going to start to lean forward. And as you lean forward, the goal is to try to feel a stretch right in the front of your hips. All right? Often I tell people, if you put your hand in your pocket and you're in this position and you can feel a stretch in here, you got it. All right? Now, one thing to keep in mind, and I'm not sure if we can see this, but in the back, you can notice that my heel has come off the ground. This is really important because sometimes people will try to do this stretch with their heel on the ground, and what ends up happening is they just end up stretching their calf muscle too much. So by lifting the heel on the ground, you're able to drop a little bit further into the stretch and start to feel the lengthening of this particular muscle. Now, once you have the stretch, what I'd love you to do is just take anywhere from about 5 or 6 nice big deep breaths. So big breath in, big breath out, and as you breathe out, try to fall into that stretch and let that muscle relax, right? Now, of course, you want to do this on both sides, and I'm going to suggest you do each side 3 times. You can do more, of course, but 3 times per side should be great. And what you want to do is you want to try to do this as much as you can throughout the day, especially if you're sitting at your desk and you're starting to feel that back get tight. There's a second version as well, and this one here doesn't involve the chair, but it allows you just to be on more flat ground. So this one looks similar, where again you kind of create a stance where you're keeping your feet apart, keeping your back nice and straight. And again, it's the same principle though. We want to lean forward and drop into this particular stretch. Now, a couple points of couple things to take note of is number 1, again, make sure that heel's coming off the ground. Number 2 is try to make sure that your knee doesn't go beyond the front of the middle of your foot. Okay, so you want to try to keep the knee above the foot or above the ankle. The reason this is important is because if we go too far forward this way, it gets a little tough on people's knees. So try to keep it back. If anything, try to move your other foot back a little bit, and the same thing. We can drop down into that stretch, feel that stretch in the front of the hips. Some people also like to bring their arms up and even lean away a little bit, and that even enhances that a little bit more. All right? So that's 2 easy ways to lengthen and to create less tension through your hip flexors. Your hips and your low back will thank you immensely for putting that effort in to try to get those guys to loosen up. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for joining us on this video. We totally hope you found it helpful. If you have, please share with your friends and family. We'd like you to spread the message of good health and good energy to as many people as we can. Thank you so much. Stay strong and healthy and keep glowing.